Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show live on this Tuesday morning. Appreciate you sticking around with us after a couple of technical difficulties getting off the ground here. Hopefully we can keep the plane up flying until 9 a.m. this morning. We'll talk to Walker Howard, who will be in here at 8 o'clock. Walker now tabbed the #1 quarterback in the country after Quinn Ewers made national news yesterday as he's going to leave his high school, his senior year of high school, and enroll into Ohio State and be eligible for competition going into his freshman season a year early. We will also talk to we'll also talk to Dr. Chris Bankhead from Ochsner as he will give us a little bit on the Myles Brennan injury. And obviously that is the headline news, and where we will lead off this morning here is with Myles Brennan, who suffered a severe injury that will require surgery, according to head coach Ed Ogeron, who put out a statement. His timeline is yet to be determined, according to LSU football. So there is a lot to get to this morning in dealing with that. We'll talk to Walker Howard at 8 a.m. We'll talk to Brody Miller at 8:30 this morning to see where LSU goes from here as far as the depth on the quarterback spot, going into the season. And as I said, we'll talk to Dr. Chris Bankhead. Dr. Bankhead is a local here from Baton Rouge, a Catholic High grad who's now over at Ochsner, and is really his specialty is some of the things that Myles Brennan is going to be dealing with in his rehabilitation, and talk to him about his strength and how he can get back kind of to full strength for the season.
If this oblique was even fully healthy.
I don't even.
Dealing with two things right now.
I don't even know. I mean, who knows that on Brennan, because it's amazing to think that he is in this situation. And before we get into our opening thoughts on that, we want to remember that our coffee is brought to you by Majestic Coffee, DeliciousSips.com. You can find out more online and get there. And then True Blue Water, TRU, bluewater.com, is daily bringing us our water here. All of our guests this morning via the phone line is going to be on Metropolitan Health Group, via Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions, and one of our newest sponsors is Papa Earl's, the Spices, as Pop Norman and his crew. You can find the Papa Earl's Spices at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and just some of the local spots here around town. And then Go Chevrolet, GEAUX Chevrolet.com is where you can find them online. Are we good? It looks like we're buffering. Do we need to do something?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
So I apologize about the technical difficulties here on this Tuesday morning. Hopefully we can get that figured out before we get out of here at 9 a.m. It was yesterday afternoon that news and rumors started to swirl around Myles Brennan and around the potential of an injury for Brennan. And I've heard a lot of the same things that a lot of people have heard out there. I've received countless text messages, numerous posts on message boards have been sent to me. People have asked stories on just what happened with Myles Brennan, and it seems to be that this happened away from the football facility. Anything after that, I don't want to speculate because there's nothing confirmed. I've heard some scenarios, but nothing that makes anything from an official standpoint. I can't say it on this platform. It's not confirmed. But I am confident in saying that it happened away from football, that there was no football activity that was going on or taking place for this injury. And when you just think about Myles Brennan's career and where he is and what he's gone through, it is, I cannot believe that Brennan is dealing with something like this going into this point of his final season.
We've been talking a lot about sports psychology. This is a case. How do you bounce back from that? Just what he's been through.
I don't necessarily know if you can. I don't know if you do, especially in the short term. I think what he has gone through, everything that exists around Myles Brennan, and you think about where he is now, it just, football is such a such a secondary storyline to everything that he's gone through. I mean, it's been everything but football for Myles Brennan. I mean, it's been everything but on the field. Outside of 2 games of his
freshman?
No, like last year. You know, I mean, the Mississippi State and the Missouri game where he was the starter, he was the guy, he was the, he was nobody was a threat to him, right? I mean, it was his job. He was the quarterback at LSU. Outside of that, it's been everything but football. I mean, it's been a freshman season where he was playing and then he didn't play. He had an offensive coordinator in Matt Canada where there was a lot of distrust around with the head coach. I mean, he goes into his second season. They redshirt him there. New offensive coordinator. Then the best player in program history shows up in Joe Burrow, and goes on to rewrite the record books and win Heisman Trophy and national champion. And then it's his gig again, and he's got this freak injury that nobody's ever seen, including the medical professionals. And now here he is, seemingly going into a competition in his final season and away from football activities 3 days before you report on the field, he breaks his arm. I mean, it's just it's almost unbelievable. I mean, like, it's almost like you have to be here and be a part of it, see it, hear it, read the stories to believe it. I mean, it's just, for as highly as he was touted and recruited, and he came in with some accolades and some expectations, you've never really been able to see him be able to take that to the next level and become that player. And I just feel so bad for him. I mean, I told when I was waking up this morning, Kelly and I were talking, and I one of the first things I said to her, I said, I just feel so bad for, like, Myles Brennan and his family. I can't imagine what they are going through, thinking, like, another setback, another story that we've got to deal with that's going to keep us away from the game. Like, I try
and go back. I can't think of anything remotely close. Any athlete.
I really can't either. I mean, not over this long of a stretch. I mean, there's been people that have dealt with adversity and some things that have come up, but I mean, it's been story after story. It's been
and we set them up. I just think we set them up for failure ever since that viral photo of him and Joe passing the torch forever in the shadow. Well, Joe would do this. Joe will do that. Joe would run through that hit. I
mean, I think that the Burrow stuff is hard for sure. I mean, it's hard to overcome just because of who he is. But, I've never really thought of that being a nuisance for Myles Brennan. I just always thought that Myles Brennan seemed like, man, I mean, Travis LeBlanc says it inside of the bunker. And I think, you say the word out loud and it's harsh, but, I mean, is there another way to describe it other than he's felt cursed? Like, it's felt like he's had like a hex on him.
Can't catch a break.
Like, he just can't. He can't catch a break. He cannot. At every turn, there's something. Whether it's a new offensive coordinator, a freak injury, or just the timeline of what happens is terrible.
People are saying red shirts. I'd leave.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep coming back. I mean, I've read reports where he could possibly have 2 years left. I mean, it's just, Because like everybody, nobody's season counted last year.
Right.
That sophomore year redshirt.
Right. So I mean, he's a like on the roster in the system, he's a redshirt junior right now. I mean, potentially he could play like 2 more years. Now you look down the line and you think of everything that he's gone through, and you would say, I mean, you really want to do this again? But I mean, I was arguing against that last 2 weeks ago. I mean, when I didn't. The decision to come back this year didn't make a lot of sense, just from my point of view. I mean, just putting it out there. But it is it's amazing that Myles Brennan. I feel incredibly sorry for his entire family and him, just with another setback around an opportunity that they've always really considered a lifelong dream. And for Brennan, I mean, I hate to be talking about him like he's dead, because I mean
Just broke his arm.
Yeah, I mean, he broke his arm, and potentially he could be back within the season. But just for him, it's amazing to think that he's in another situation where he can't play football. I mean, like, it's been everything about Myles Brennan other than the game has been the story. So, we will talk to Dr. Chris Bankhead here shortly. We're going to talk to Walker Howard. Hopefully we can get these technical difficulties figured out here on the Jordy Culotta Show and make sure that you're having a good experience. The new website is launched today over at jordyculottashow.com if you want to check that out. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think on the new setup, the way that you navigate it, the things that you may learn over there. Anything that any type of feedback that you see that could be of help, we appreciate that. Or some things that you don't like. We appreciate the constructive criticism over here on the Jordy Culotta Show. But check it out. Tell us what you think about it. We love it. Nevadis did a fantastic job. Our friends over at Nevadis, Randall Knockman, his entire crew, everybody over there, really held our hand through the entire process. We workshopped it a lot. We're still workshopping it here even during the launch. But we've got some pretty cool capabilities over there on the website that Nevadis really stepped up and took care of us for it. And we want to be able to bring an experience to you, the listener, the viewer, that is very convenient for you. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we were getting was that you couldn't work with our audio or video popped up. You could only kind of X out of that to get any work done around your smart device, your phone, your PC, your laptop. And we have developed the capability over at jordyculottashow.com for you to minimize the screen, whether it be the YouTube or the audio, and allow you to work kind of with that in the background. So you can keep us going while whatever you got going at jordyculottashow.com, but whatever you got going on your smart device or on your laptop, you can stay up with and keep us in the background. So great stuff from Nevadis, man. Randall Knockman, I cannot say enough how much we appreciate working alongside him and having his expertise during this entire time for us. So check out Nevadis if they can help design a website for you, or a mobile app for you, or a mobile website. They're the best. Check them out. Randall Knockman in Nevadis, located over at Technology Park over there on Florida Boulevard, right here in Baton Rouge, a local company. Been fantastic to deal with, and is the brains behind the new jordyculottashow.com, which looks really looks good. Okay, we will talk to Dr. Chris Bankhead when we come back. Hopefully we can figure out some of these video problems that we're having. We'll get set up for Walker Howard and Brody Miller today here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons? Get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Hebert's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Hebert over at Hebert's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Hebert's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, live on this Tuesday morning, presented and brought to you by Daily Go Chevrolet. Check them out online, GEAUXchevrolet.com. Spoke to Lee Carney yesterday. They were helping a Jordy Culotta Show listener get into a new model down in Laplace, so appreciate you supporting all of our fine sponsors. Go check out Go Chevrolet here locally. If you're looking for a used car model, that'll be on the corner of Florida Boulevard and Sherwood Forest at Go Express Auto Sales. Or down in Laplace, Louisiana. Hit the fellas up online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. You can check out the inventory right there online and then go shop them down there on the lot in Laplace, Louisiana. All right, we opened up talking about Myles Brennan and just really overall, man, just a depressing story to think about for the human being, for Myles Brennan, everything that he's gone through, right? New offensive coordinators, red shirt in the middle of his eligibility. Joe Burrow shows up to campus, a freak injury that even medical professionals are kind of scratching their head at. And then 3 days before he reports to fall camp in his redshirt junior season. Remember, Myles Brennan, I know it feels like he's been here since 1984. He's still got 2 years of eligibility left. When you just think of his run up to this point. But yesterday, freak injury happens away from the football facility, and it looks as if he broke an arm. It's on the non-throwing left side. We've heard talk of a humerus bone injury, and we bring on a professional over at Ochsner Health, a good friend of mine, Dr. Jeremy Burnham, who I graduated high school with at Parkview Baptist, is over there as one of the lead sports medicine doctors, and he put me on Dr. Christopher Bankhead and said, this is who you need to talk to. He's an expert when talking about this injury, and he can give you a lot of insight here this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. So first and foremost, thank you for your time, Dr. Bankhead. I appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday morning. We got you, Doc?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you loud and clear, man. Thank you for your time
Awesome,
this morning.
Man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. When you hear humerus bone injury, what is your first? What's your first feeling when you think of a quarterback, an athlete sustaining that type of fall?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough injury. It's not one we see a lot during football games. I've seen a couple during football games, but usually it's something like a fall from a height or a car crash, some kind of trauma that causes something like a humerus bone fracture.
Where is that? This might be a stupid question. Is that your funny bone?
So your funny bone is part of your humerus bone. That's the very far end of it near your elbow. Your humerus bone goes from your shoulder joint all the way down to your elbow joint. And so it's kind of comprised of three different parts, Typically, the part up by your shoulder is something that like an older person will break during a fall. The mid shaft is kind of the bulk of it, underneath your biceps muscle. And then the funny bone is kind of the very far end of it down by the elbow.
What's the recovery time on an injury like that?
Gosh, it kind of depends on exactly where it is. So in the middle of the shaft, usually you can get really good purchase when you fix it. So, these things a lot of times have to be fixed with plates and screws. The good thing is that he's an athlete. He's got good bone. And so you should be able to get a really sturdy fixation. The timeline still, though, depends on if it's closer to the shoulder, if it's closer to the middle, if it's closer to the elbow. Kind of taking all comers there, I think you can probably expect something in the neighborhood of about 3 months.
If it's a left arm injury, can you still be active with the right arm? Could he still work out? Could he still do physical activity to stay in shape for a time recovery where he could get back into action once he was deemed healthy enough?
I think he definitely can. That's a huge advantage to being the left side. I would expect him to still be able to really participate in, at least conditioning type drills, footwork type drills, throwing with his right arm. The biggest thing that, the biggest concern that you have is obviously really massive human beings landing on top of him and re-injuring that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the surgery on this, there's rumors that this is supposed to happen this morning for him. I know that nothing is simple when you guys go into the surgery room, but as far as this procedure goes, what is he looking at?
Sure. Again, it kind of depends on where it is on the bone. I would say that closer to the elbow tends to be a little bit more complex. Right in the middle tends to be reasonably straightforward in that it's something that most orthopedic surgeons are able to take care of.
Dr. Christopher Bankhead, who is a local doctor here at Ochsner Health, a good friend of mine, Dr. Jeremy Burnham over there in sports medicine, put us in contact to talk a little bit about this morning and Myles Brennan and the injury that he sustained. So if you have any needs to go see Dr. Bankhead, he's over there at Ochsner Health with Dr. Burnham. Thank you for your time this morning, Doc.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And there is Dr. Bankhead checking in this morning, giving us the latest.
I got queasy when he said the screws. Never sounds good.
No, it's anytime surgery. Any type of surgery. When you think of athletes and where they are, they just that's a thing that you don't want to deal with, man. Especially the timeline. The timeline is so crazy for Brennan when you just think of it. He said potentially 6 to 8 weeks there. I don't really see a scenario. First and foremost, let the record state, and we've stated it, numerous times here. This could be really a dead topic on this show because we've talked about it so much. I believe that Max Johnson is the better quarterback out of the two. I figured all along that he was going to be the starter. You hate to see a scenario like this really kind of open it up and green light that, but I don't think that anything would change from a starting standpoint. But what you lose in depth this morning has to be now the biggest source of anxiety that Ed Orgeron and this staff has going into the season. And they had some pain points that they were worried about, right? They thought about the offensive line and the lack of depth there, the potential of a number 2 playmaker behind Kayshon Boutte. Who's going to be the starting running back on this team? Is there going to be somebody that really solidifies himself as the top guy that can carry the rock for him coming into the season? But now when you think about the limited depth that you have at quarterback, that you're now one snap away from having a true freshman be the quarterback at LSU, along with having a true freshman one snap away from being a true freshman, having a true freshman at left tackle, when you talk about Garrett Dellinger, that is cause for major concern within the head coach's office or within the coaching offices this morning at LSU.
Who's QB number 3?
I would say Jontre Kirkland. if we're being like realistic.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the guys on the sidelines with the clipboards and holding the clipboards and the iPads and got a headset on. I mean, in all reality, those guys, you know, the days of Andrew Hatch taking snaps at LSU, I think, are long gone. I think, you know, Jake Peets would probably look at a guy like Jontre Kirkland and say, "Hey, man, we're running Wildcat,
drop
and you can throw it, you know, and we're just going to do simple outs, slants, you know what I mean, deep routes. I mean, you're going to keep the field kind of cut up, and you just go be an athlete. And if it breaks down and you're worried about it, run it." I mean, I really think that that's who they would go to. I mean, I don't know if they have another option. I really don't. I mean, I wonder if they've called Walker Howard and asked him if he could do the Quinn Ewers thing. Like if you could graduate early, would you consider coming to LSU? Now, I don't think that that's realistic. I'm just kind of putting that out there. But I mean, you know, Quinn Ewers made national news yesterday, obviously, as he's going to forego his senior season at Westlake Carroll in Austin, Texas, and going to enroll at Ohio State, sign contracts for name, image, and likeness upwards to close to $1 million, and compete to be Ohio State's starting quarterback this season. I mean, it just that shook up the college world. Now, like Shea said yesterday, and I agree with him, there's not going to be these guys every year, really. I mean, a guy like Ewers is in a position where he's stepping into a quarterback room at Ohio State that is wide open. I mean, all these guys have taken no snaps combined to them at a D1 level.
CJ Stroud's supposed to be the expected.
And I think he's
19.
And I think he was like the 102nd recruit in the country, right? I mean, Quinn Ewers is the #1 quarterback in this cycle. Now, he's a cycle behind to where he should be, but now he's stepping on a college campus and is going to compete for being the starter. You know, I mean, I would not be surprised to see Ewers take snaps this year at Ohio State. And I wonder if LSU, you know, I mean, they've got to be just scouring options right now at quarterback. I mean, they have, first off, the timing on this is, it couldn't be any worse for everybody, for LSU, for Myles Brennan, for some type of, you got to find some type of depth.
I have to play devil's advocate with the TJ Finley transfer. I mean, hindsight is 2020. It's just that stinks now that he really transferred.
Well, and even to take it back closer to that, and you know, I got some information during that time where, you know, that's when the Major Burns stuff was happening. I mean, that when TJ Finley was deciding to transfer, Major Burns was also had jumped into the transfer portal from Georgia, and really he was in the portal to go to one school. I mean, Burns wanted to come home. He wanted to be in Baton Rouge. He wanted to be at LSU while he was at Madison Prep. I mean, LSU had to, you know, have a tough conversation with Burns and his family, which, you know, is a very fragile thing in recruiting, especially at a school like Madison Prep that, you know, you look down the line and Quincy Wiggins is at the time as a freshman, right? And
it still boggles my mind Burns is here. I mean, if that happened to me, playing in your backyard, I get promised, signing day, yeah, about that spot. That's tough, man.
No, it is. It absolutely is.
Jacoby Matthews, the beauty and ugly of recruiting.
And then when the Burns things goes down, like Ogeron and the crew were telling Burns, like, you know, if you're in the portal, once you're in the portal, we got you. You know, it's all good. In that window, TJ Finley decides to transfer. And you start thinking, and there's discussion within the coaching office, is do you take another quarterback or do you take Major Burns? Well, a lot of the conversation was, first off, you can't burn the bridge twice with Burns.
Right.
God.
I mean, if you pull the rug out from under him again, you potentially never get a Baton Rouge recruit. Forget a Madison Prep recruit.
Talk about dirty recruit.
I mean,
talking point.
Jeff Jones is a guy that has a very powerful voice within the city of Baton Rouge, not just at Madison Prep. I mean, that guy is well respected from community lines that far extend East Baton Rouge Parish. Somebody that if you're a college recruiter, you want to make sure he's on your team. Will Wade, Jeff Jones, thick as thieves. You know what I mean? Like, they're tight.
How did they rebuild that? I don't know why it's just so hard for me to grasp like that. Hearing how ugly recruiting can be with Major Burns, the fact to come back. How do you rebuild that?
Well, it's home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's home. And when, like a lot of those conversations that you have in recruiting, man, a lot of that stuff is personal. A lot of that stuff is very, endearing. A lot of that stuff is, I mean, you're selling yourself. I mean, you're making sure they understand that he knows they made a mistake and they want you back. I mean, you've gotten back together with your girlfriend. You know what I mean? You've said some things that, you're like, yeah, right. I mean, you've told them. I mean,
I still love it.
Exactly. And that's what that conversation's like. So,
I mean, we needed him, absolutely. I'm not going to put an 18-year-old as a starting safety at LSU. The kid's going to be an absolute dog, Major Burns.
Oh, he's the starter.
Yeah, it's great to have somebody with experience back.
Yeah,
we're going to have to throw freshmen.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's a starter. I mean, they had to try and move Jay Ward there.
Right.
They had to find guys that could play there. But, I mean, now with Sage Ryan and Matthew Langlois, you feel a little bit more secure on where you are. I think you get Alsbury. I think you get Jacoby Matthews back.
I just didn't want to hear the 2020 hindsight. Oh, well, we should have just gotten another quarterback. It's like, no, we needed the safety at the time.
Yeah, you had to. You had to have the safety. And I still, deep down, and I know that you can't say this, and you can't say this with any. I mean, this is really just kind of a fan's take, and I mean, like we're just, I think Max Johnson is tough as nails, and that that he potentially could take every snap this season for LSU. I've thought that before going into the season. I think that again, I will never say anything in comparison to Joe Burrow for anybody on the field. Like I will never have any type of Burrow expectations for anyone, because I think Burrow is just, man, he's a unicorn. He doesn't exist. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest we'll ever see. My son is 10 years old. He'll probably be the greatest he ever sees.
You're chasing the dragon.
But one thing that Max Johnson has that reminds you a little bit of Burrow, besides having that football lifeline, like the dad's the coach, the mom's the athlete, been around the game the entire life, is that he is tough, bro. Like, real, like Burrow tough.
Have you ever
like get his neck popped on the sideline by Auburn and wonder if he's knocked out and then get up and throw a touchdown 3 plays later? Tough. You know what I mean? Almost the type of athlete that he's waiting on the hit for the game to start. Right. Like, I need you to hit me to check me in. Like, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play, but when you pop me and stand over me and clap over me, now I'm in it. Mm-hmm. Now I'm in it. Now I'm ready to play.
That's that dog.
Yeah. And Johnson's got that, too. And you know who else does? Nussmeier's got it. Nussmeier he's got more of that Manziel quality, where he's just got this stuff where you're like, damn, bro. I mean, it doesn't look conventional, but gets it done every time. I would hate to see Nussmeier have his growth stunted by having to start like the Auburn or Alabama or
get thrown into it.
28-3.
Yeah, man. Have a Brandon Harris, TJ Finley, Jarrett Lee type of experience where it rattles your brain.
Right.
It gives you a little bit of trepidation of, where you question whether or not I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, if you're built for it or not.
You know what I mean? I wonder if I'm even supposed to be on this level. Well, yeah, you are, but you're not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're supposed to sit for 2 years and watch and get ready and physically get a little bit bigger, stronger, mentally grow up a little bit, see the speed, go play in some games where LSU's up 35-3. Right. Go play, take some snaps where there's no threat of anything happening to the outcome of the game, but you can go in there and, take some strides. One of those, just some of those moments that you look back on careers and say, man, you remember that Saturday where he played against Ole Miss and LSU was up by 3 scores and he came in and hit Brian Thomas down the sideline on a go route. You always remember kind of that being the moment. Nussmeier in now, I'm more worried about Nussmeier in this situation than I am anybody else. The program, the depth. I don't want Nussmeier to have to start a game that means anything this year. I mean, if he's got to start a couple of no-namers, maybe that's okay if you want to put Max on the shelf to make sure that you keep him healthy. I understand that. But as soon as Nussmeier takes a meaningful start or snap, I just think that, you're right back into the cycle of where LSU was. Now, you're not there for, every single year like they were, because you've got Walker Howard coming in. Nussmeier would get some good experience, and Max Johnson will be back. So you'll really be healthy in the quarterback room again next season. But, the way it should line up is that, Nussmeier shouldn't have to take a meaningful snap this season. He should be going into next year thinking, all right, I've seen it. I understand it.
Yeah.
I know what it sounds like. I know what it feels like. Now I'm ready to take that next step.
I knew it was a small sample size. The kid was supposed to be at his senior prom. Throws 4 interceptions. Didn't even mean anything.
No, man.
Love that.
Yes, that's the stuff that you're talking about with Nussmeier, that coaches look at him and, look, I've got really good information and intel on this, and this is some high praise. Jake Peets thinks that Nussmeier can be a first-round pick. Now, I look at the window of quarterback here, and I wonder when he can develop into that, because I've got Walker Howard, starting 2 years from today.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like 3 years from today. Really, I think he sits 1 year behind Max Johnson, gets good, but his true sophomore year, I got Walker Howard.
Got the keys
as the guy.
It's the modern day quarterback problem.
I mean, absolutely.
Would you rather have no quarterbacks or too many?
Well, I mean, LSU doesn't know what too many looks like. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as they had too many, one transferred.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, one gets an off the field football injury freakishly 3 days before you report to fall camp.
And the part with Nussmeier with getting thrown in the fire, it's not a performance aspect. It's more the mental. Like, you don't want him to get mentally checked out and think that he's not built for it.
The confidence.
That's the scariest part.
It's the confidence, man. You don't want to break his confidence. 2008 broke Jay Lee's confidence, man. Remember Jarrett Lee. That guy was a gunslinger. I'll never forget his first game against Auburn when they threw him in there, when Andrew Hatch got broken in half. Murdered at midfield at Jordan-Hare Stadium. They look at Jarrett Lee because they got no other options, and they say, man, go get the game. He throws this, just timid, scared pick six on his first play to a little out route to Spencer Ware, and then he kind of takes a deep breath, and he comes in there, and he makes some throws, man, where you're like, look at this cat. He hits Brandon LaFell on a crosser his first game as a true freshman, where you're like, this kid is going to be special. And then, 8 pick sixes later,
message of you, man.
A starter against Alabama, the national champs, as a true freshman, and his confidence is broke. And he really doesn't get it back until his senior season, where you can still see the shades of it haunting him. Brandon Harris. I was on the field when Brandon Harris was jogging off the field at Auburn, and Lyle Collins, I'll never forget this, Lyle Collins, Brandon Harris was starting at Auburn. This was the week after the Mississippi State game when Dak came in here and beat the hell out of LSU, and Brandon Harris, they put him in at the end of the game, and they almost came back.
Right.
They almost came back and won that game at the end. Brandon Harris and Malachi Dupree were going nuts. And then the next week they go to Jordan-Hare against Auburn, and Lyle Collins is running off the field, coming off the field after a 3-and-out, and he unsnaps his chin strap and takes his helmet off, and he says, he's calling mother effing plays from high school. Like, he don't even know what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's so freaked out. He's so scared. He don't even know the plays to call.
Yeah.
He's calling plays that he was calling last year in high school. I mean, it just he could do it the week before when you just throw him in there and say, hey, man, go play.
Right.
Go play. But when you are like preparing as the starter, you walk out there first. There's 90,000 screaming down at you. I mean, bro, you tighten up.
Right.
If you're not ready for that.
You don't know the mental aspect.
Nussmeier's got it. He's got it. He's built for it. But who knows what that would do to him if you stroll him out there on the road in the conference when he's just not ready.
What happens to quarterbacks when you get drafted into an absolute terrible situation?
Right.
Sam Darnold. He had one of the best arms coming out of the draft. Dumpster fire situation. As a quarterback, it's so mental, and you forget about that. And it goes back to the Myles Brennan with the injury. It's just like, it's such a mental game.
Yeah.
It's so hard to bounce back.
It is. I mean, it really is more mental than it is physical. I mean, think about the players with confidence and how...
We've been talking about all month. Ben Simmons, guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Daily, we're brought to you by A-Bear Specialty Meats. Remember, A-Bear Specialty Meats is located in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them today for lunch, and they're hiring at the Baton Rouge location. If you're looking for work, and whether you're a college student or whether you're looking for something in the managerial role, get in touch with me, Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com. Walt Hidalgo and I, the owner of the Baton Rouge and the Prairieville location, we're talking about some hirings, and we're going to use this platform to see if we can't find some good personnel that may be motivated with good energy, good enthusiasm to work over at A-Bear Specialty Meats. Going into football season, we'll have some really cool things that we're rolling out, things like tailgating packages and hunting packages for you to take down to the duck and deer camp throughout fall, and then tailgating packages for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you're going to be watching the games in high school or college or even down in New Orleans for the Saints game, hopefully everything stays open and operating and at full attendance here going into the season. Obviously, yesterday's news doesn't look as if that was, that wasn't positive news for that direction, but hopefully we can stay on we can stay on pace here. But get over to A-Bear Specialty Meats. Remember about them in the fall. Remember them for gift ideas. If you're a manager, if you're a decision maker, if you're an owner of the company and you're looking for something for your employees, for your clients, remember A-Bear Specialty Meats gift cards for the holidays. They are great. They're very convenient, and it gives that person the chance to get in there and check out the lunch, grab a stuffed chicken, stuffed deboned chicken, some of the steaks, some of the boudin balls, some of the great things that A-Bears is known for. Next, we will talk to Walker Howard, who we have always believed is the number one quarterback in the country now. I think every service in the country will tab him as the number one guy now that Quinn Ewers is moving on to Ohio State. We'll ask him about the name, image, and likeness stuff, what he's thought about it, just kind of with that now being a rule, how does he approach it? But we'll also ask him about getting prepared for his senior season, this class of 2022. He was a part of Emory Jones's commitment video that launched on Friday. We'll get his thoughts on Jacoby Matthews, just like we asked Emory yesterday. As Emory said, he believes that Matthews will ultimately end up in the purple and gold. I agree with Emory Jones. If you hadn't heard that Emory Jones conversation, do yourself a favor and check the commitments of LSU and one of the big-time players, man. Emory Jones is high on LSU's board. When they're just rating the players of this 2022 cycle, Emory Jones is in the top 4. They love Emory. I mean, they see him as a Sunday guy.
What Shea was saying.
Long-time Sunday guy.
The person is more impressive than the player.
Very, very impressive.
6'6", 371.
I mean, look for him to probably be at SEC Media Days in 3 years for LSU.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just kind of representing the program and being a face and a guy. But a huge get. We'll ask Walker Howard how big of a commitment that was.
We're asking Walker about his vertical.
Yes.
What's the workout, bro?
Where those bunnies come from.
And who's number one?
Right.
I mean, like, bro, I mean, like,
48-inch vertical.
Good Lord, dude. I mean, like, some of his numbers were embarrassing, but like next to his name is number, like, who's the top cat at St. Thomas More? We'll find all of that stuff out next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard.
Yes.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show. Appreciate Dr. Chris Bankhead for stopping by earlier in the show, earlier in hour one, talking a little bit about the Myles Brennan situation and what the recovery looks like for a broken humerus bone. Real quick before we get to Walker Howard, the #1 quarterback in the country, shout out to Mondo Duplantis over at the Tokyo Games, taking home gold this morning as not a lot
pole
of
vault, right?
Yeah, absolutely pole vault. Are you kidding me, bro? Best pole vaulter in the world as he gets it for Sweden as Mondo Duplantis gets his gold medal. I think that was much expected, but here is the day that we celebrate one of the great Lafayette athletes in Mondo Duplantis to another fantastic athlete coming out of Lafayette. We're talking about Walker Howard, and we were talking about his testing numbers a couple of weeks back, and Walker and St. Thomas More obviously getting ready to defend that state championship. I told you about Walker's numbers. His 40-yard dash was 4.49. He benched 273, and then he jumps 39 inches, which I thought was the most impressive number on the entire stat sheet. Second best on the team in the 40-yard dash at 4.49. Second best on the team with the vertical jump at 39 inches. Second best on the team in the shuttle at the 4.155. Obvious first question here off the top, superstar. Who's number one at St. Thomas More? Who's beating those numbers? And is LSU on him?
All different guys. That's fun.
How has the summer been, man? It's good to talk to you. Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Yes, hey, thank y'all so much for having me. But the summer's been going great. You know, during June, it was mostly about going to hang out at LSU all the time before the dead period ended with the recruits. And then now July is working on my football, working on my high school team, and trying to work for another state championship this summer.
Yeah, it's kind of been a section summer for you when you look at it. A lot of the camp circuit and a lot of the stuff going on early in the summer, then some of the LSU stuff, and now just kind of focused in on St. Thomas More and getting ready for a senior season. What was Boys from the Boot like last weekend? Kind of that last weekend of recruiting for the summertime with you and the fellas.
Yeah, it was great. You know, finally, like last time we'll be together till our season starts, and you know we were kind of messing around. Like me and Will were messing around because we play each other week 4. You know, just talking to Emory, excited about how he committed to LSU. It's just it was a great time, and it was just a good time hanging out with the boys.
We talked to Emory yesterday morning. Very impressive, and he is like all of you guys. It sounds very motivated to get this class together and ultimately get to LSU. What was the addition? What does that mean for the class? Adding Emory Jones to the group.
Emory Jones, I mean, he is one of the best players in the country for sure. I mean, he is dominant all around, and it's just awesome because he's one of my good buddies already, and already making it with Bo, Will, Jake, and adding Emory to it is it's awesome.
What did you see the most improvement on for your game this summer? Is there anything that you tried to improve on going into the summer and coming out on it, feeling like you improved on going into your senior year?
Just faster, bigger, faster, and stronger. That's really what I worked on this summer. Like, just it's gonna be different than last year. I'm gonna have to try to make more plays. I'm just gonna have to be there for my team, and that's what I'm ready for this season for.
What do you make of the attention? How do you like all of the attention that you got this summer? I think that everybody's been talking about you locally for a long a couple of years here in the state of Louisiana, but it seemed like the nation learned about Walker Howard this summer, and really everybody. I mean, if you open up and type in quarterback 2022, your name is first on the list on a lot of searches. How do you deal with that? How has that part been?
It's been really crazy, actually, and I've been kind of trying to sit back and stay away from it so much because I don't want to get caught up in it. But it's very exciting. But I really just don't I don't really want to get involved with it as much, because I want to make sure I'm still being myself as a player, as me as a person, and then me as a player, and not try to get too big of a head.
Yeah, for sure. Has recruiting is it really only LSU, or is people still coming after you?
I'm all LSU.
Yeah, no, I know you are, but I mean, are people still pressing you from the outside? Are you still having to deal with the calls and deal with all of the recruiting stuff?
Well, my dad sometimes gets a couple calls, but they don't really call me because I don't really answer the phone to anybody else.
Nice. Unless you're looking for a new PlayStation, he's our guy. Yeah. Walker.
No doubt.
Quinn Ewers, I know that you met him through the circuit. You guys, it seemed like all of you top-end quarterbacks, whether it's Ty Simpson, Ewers, all of you guys that were on the camp circuit created a bond. Obviously, he's in the news right now. What do you make of that story of him deciding to enroll at Ohio State a year early?
Me and Ty were on a group message, and we're all talking yesterday about, that's the best option for him, and we're all that's what an awesome opportunity for him, and we're all excited, and the best luck for him.
Walker, do you even pay attention to name, image, and likeness stuff? Have you even thought about that? What that's going to be like when you get to LSU? I'm not saying that you're looking for business opportunities. I'm just wondering, somebody at your level, by the time you get to school, that'll kind of be, they'll have it figured out. Have you kind of thought about how that will affect you once you get to school?
I've absolutely been thinking about it ever since Quinn, what he's doing right now. I mean, it's just crazy, really. But that's reality now, and I got to think about it a little bit more, and get my name out there, and just have my name and image and likeness out there. Yeah,
it's and by the time you get here, it'll be much more clear. I think it'll be a little bit more figured out how it works. I know a bummer of a story yesterday. I saw your Instagram story where you quote tweeted LSU football. I know that you're tight with that entire quarterback room. What was your thoughts kind of after the story of Myles Brennan came out officially yesterday, that he's going to now have to have surgery and be set back a little bit here for another season?
Yeah, I was very sick to my stomach, and I always wanted the best for Myles. I mean, he's going through he's going through a lot of adversity, and I mean, that's just the person he's going to be at the end of this is just even stronger than he already is, and I hope he comes back better than ever, and praying for him and his family.
What about St. Thomas More this season? You guys got a target on your back. What is this part of the process like? I see that you guys are going through a lot of the team building period of kind of getting ready for the season. How are you guys dealing with being the hunted now that everybody's coming after you?
So a lot of people, we lost a lot of good players last year. And a lot of people aren't thinking we're going to be as good as last year. We're not going to be the same team as last year. Absolutely. I mean, we had the best athlete. We had the best high school player in the country last year. There is no question about it. Jack Besh, and having next year coming up, we're gonna win the state championship, and we're gonna work hard, and that's what we have team bonding. We all got closer as a team, and I'm fired up for the season.
We have one of your best playmakers now in Baton Rouge, Jack Besh. You two absolutely terrorized defenses last year. Just let LSU fans know, where are we getting in Jack Besh? What do we expect from him this upcoming season?
When that guy gets the ball in his hands, it's game over. He is so dominant in everything he does. Blocking, he'll slam a guy to the ground. He's the best high school player in the country last year. There's no question about it.
It seems like all the coaches that you talk to around LSU, it's going to be impossible to keep him off the field. They almost talk about him now like a quasi-starter. I've talked to a couple of coaches, and they're like, Besh is going to be in the slot, or he's going to be playing tight end. They're going to be packaged. They have fallen in love with Jack Besh, and I think people close to him, like you, aren't surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get to know Jack Besh and how he is as a person, how he is as a player, if you saw him in person, you'd be like, yeah, that guy needs to be playing right now. They're just trying to find a place for him because he is so dominant everywhere on the field. And, he's going to have a great camp, and I'm so fired up for him.
Sneaky basketball player, too. He can hoop. Last one before you walk. I'll get you out of here. How's the relationship strengthened with Pete's, Mangus, the offensive staff, now that you've had just a little bit more extended time of getting to know them? Damn, that thing sounds fierce. During the summer, we've all gotten much closer. I've been hanging out there so much with them, and that's the best staff in the country. I've met most of all of them, and they're the best people around and the best coaches in the country, and they're gonna make you better all around. And I can't wait to be over there. I talked to Coach Pete before. I was texting him right before we were on here, and I'm excited. I really am. Is that one dog or two dogs?
That is one dog. He is
fierce,
barking.
bro. Fierce. What type of dog?
A golden doodle. He looks nice and plays mean.
Walk, have a great day, bro. It's great to catch up with you, and have a great senior season.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
You got it, man. Number one quarterback in the country there, Walker Howard, talking a little college football, talking a little name, image, and likeness, talking Jake Peets, talking competition, and talking
Jack Besh,
little Quinn Ewers. Can you think of a better security blanket than Jack Besh? I'm telling you. Jack, turn on the film.
I need to watch the basketball
from last season.
I've seen
and
it.
See the chemistry that these two cats had. It was Rohan Davey, Josh Reed. It was Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson. It was Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. They who they lit up? They lit up the state. They lit up Catholic High.
Yeah, they lit them.
Catholic High has the best roster in the state. D1 players all over the place. And Besh and Walker went into Memorial Stadium on Thursday night, and I think they hung 40 on them.
Dude, it looks like they're playing Sigma Chi's out there. It's unreal.
Besh is a monster. I don't know why. I guess, we can say it out loud. I guess he was passed over because he's a white wide receiver. I don't know why else, because if you just look at him play, and you can go back and you can find the footage, the film, whatever you're looking for in this, we were screaming into the ball for LSU. Terrible place to buffer. I was just grabbing my balls and it froze. But Blaine Besh and I were good friends, still good friends, and we worked together at Guarantee Media, both as salesmen. And Besh was a player at LSU. He played on Saban's 2003 national championship team. He was the holder. He was the one that ran the fake field goal in the swamp in 2002 for the touchdown. But he would always, we would always be talking about football in the office. And at the time, Jack was committed to Vanderbilt, and we would both be like out loud, him obviously more than me because he had the family tie to Jack Besh, but just could not get over that big time schools weren't on Jack.
Jordy, he put up 10 catches, 224 yards, and 2 touchdowns versus Catholic that game.
And he was double teamed.
Like it was nothing.
He was double teamed. They were double teaming him. And finally we're like, so I would get on the radio all the time, and that was kind of like my deal. I'd be like, why is nobody on Jack Besh? Like, what is the deal with Jack Besh? Why is nobody paying attention? He's got the numbers. He's the biggest player and the best player in the biggest games. He's a multi-sport athlete. He's got the size. What is the deal with Besh? And, we would always get that he was like the casualty of COVID.
Right.
Like that they took away the camps where they couldn't go work out in that particular recruiting cycle. And Jack Besh would have been a kid, if he would have had a chance to work out at a camp, he'd have had all of his offers the summer going into his junior season.
Well, that junior year is so
it's
big.
It's so huge. Monumental, right? I mean, it's huge for recruiting. And so he missed out on that for whatever reason. Right. And once he got the LSU offer, everybody came in. Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas. They all, I mean, if you Notre Dame, if you started to keep up with him on social media, he was like, all my dreams are coming true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting Texas offers and Notre Dame offers.
It's all flowing in.
Yeah, it's all happening. But I'm telling you that it doesn't matter who you talk to at LSU. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Who's going to make the biggest impact as a freshman? Mason Smith's always up there.
Right.
Bryce Langston, the defensive tackle.
Yep.
Savion on defense. Those are the three that they're always talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But Besh has become so, like, it's almost like he's a starter. I mean, like, they speak of him, like, when we're like offense, I'm like, Jack Besh is my guy. And they're like, bro, Besh is going to be, he's going to be playing against UCLA.
Right.
They're like talking about, like, some of the other wide receivers.
I'm sorry, I just watched his highlight, just off two with ease in basketball.
He's just an athlete. He's an athlete.
Throw the lob.
Right.
I mean, he goes up and gets it. I told both of y'all what I got from a really good source. Top 5 athlete on the team right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, think about that. Think about being in that locker room as a true freshman, somebody that was not really offered until 6 months ago, being a top 5 athlete in that locker room right now. I mean, let's just go down the list. Stingley's 1, right?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, like, he is the number 1 athlete. I would have Eli Ricks as probably 2.
Right.
You say the golf story with Stingley. I don't think you said it live.
They all went and played Top Golf, and Stingley, like, picked up a driver and, like, just busted one, like, 280 right down the pipe. And, like, one of the guys behind was like, I mean, what can't you do? What can't you do?
I don't know.
Let's play off the top of our head here. So get involved if you want. If you're listening inside of the if you're listening inside the bunker and you want to get involved with us here, I got the top 5 athletes, and this is coming from somebody, a coach on the staff. I'm not going to tell you who, but a coach on the staff told me right now today, Jack Besh is a top 5 athlete in LSU's locker room. So I got Stingley 1. I would have Eli Ricks 2.
Right.
I mean, to me, he would be a freak on the basketball floor. Just how long and aggressive and athletic he is.
I think Chris Hilton's up there.
Chris Hilton's probably up there for sure. I mean, I was going to say Brian Thomas too, but I'm trying to think of some upper class. There's got to be upper class. B.J. Ujulari is probably up there.
John Emery's probably up there.
Clark clean 314 yesterday.
But he's not athletic. You know what I mean? To me, Damone Clark looks like a linebacker.
Right.
Just because he's big in the weight. I'm talking about guys that like Stingley. Like, you give him a golf club or you give him a football helmet, he's going to be the best player out there. Or he's just going to naturally be able to do that. Jack Besh, I mean, think about it. If you follow Jack Besh on social media, right? And I don't mean this to sound creepy. I mean, you're all listening, do this type of stuff. You're trying to get inside access, and you follow these guys on social media. Besh was working out with Max Johnson and some of the wide receivers a couple of weeks back, and they were just kind of goofing around, and Besh took the ball and was playing quarterback, and Johnson was running the routes, and Johnson just takes off on a go route, and he's probably 55 yards down the field, I would say. I mean, Besh uncorks one and puts it on a dime, on a run. I mean, Max Johnson never breaks stride. Everybody was talking about Max Johnson's speed when they saw the video. Everybody's like, damn, I didn't know Max Johnson can run like that. How about the dime that Jack Besh puts on his head?
The receiver just
like QB3?
I mean, you know what I mean?
Honestly.
John Trey Kirkland's probably a top 5 athlete on that team. Trey Palmer's probably, I mean, think about it, dude. Think about the LSU locker room.
Right.
I mean, they're all a bunch of freaks. You know who else I've heard? Matthew Langlois.
Right. Track runner.
Is a dog. Yeah. Like, Matthew Langlois is a dog. We ran into when we went fishing last Thursday with our buddy Lance Walker and the fish commander down there in Port Fourchon, we roll up to the dock, and we're sitting there waiting to get our bait at Keyshawn Butte's got to be up there too, right?
So Tommy would always post the lifting results like during the season. Keyshawn's always first for wide receivers.
And we pull up to the dock, and we're up there. It's like sunrise. It's like 5:45 in the morning, 5:50 in the morning. We get there, and here comes this truck pulling up, and these 4 dudes get out of it, and I mean they look like the O'Doyles. You know what I mean? It's just like a bunch of ass kickers. It's the Moffats. It's Tommy Moffat and his 3 sons who are, I mean, they look like a basketball team. You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
massive.
These cats are huge, man. And we're just kind of, the boat's getting in the water. People are filling up the ice chest. People are getting their baits and everything. People are moving around. And me and Moffat just kind of start BSing. Tommy Moffat, the strength coach. And we kind of get talking on some off-season stuff. And he is just oozing on Matthew Langlois, like one of the smartest cats. Jack Marucci does those cognitive tests that they're talking about, and Langlois was one of the ones that tested like off the charts in this true freshman class on his football IQ.
Now.
So I mean, they say he's a junkie in the weight room. He's a freak in the weight room. He's great in the testing. This freshman class seems like they're going to make it. I mean, like Sage Ryan, his athleticism is he's a freak.
Freshman class is full of
they are, man.
Freaks. Full of athletes.
They are.
Do we still have Brody Miller? I would want to hear his list.
Yes, he's coming up here at 8:30, so we're going to talk to him in 10 minutes. Remember, you can get in daily. We are brought to you by RMB Builders, RMB-Builders.com. You can get in touch with Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, custom-made homes. Get in touch with him if you're looking for a remodel, reconstruction. They can help you out with that. As well, if you just need some handiwork done around the house, let RMB Builders help you out today. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, RMB-Builders.com, RMB-Builders.com, to get in touch with him over there.
Quick thing on Matthew, he ran a 10.97 100-meter as a junior in high school.
Yeah, he won the state championship.
Yeah, he won the state championship. Yeah.
I mean, he beat the best. He's the fastest 100-meter yard runner.
And
100-meter. How do you say that? I don't even know. He's got the fastest 100 in the state. You know what I mean? And he is a hell of a football player. I mean, I called one of his games on the radio when he was a sophomore, and David Semino, who's now the head coach at Catholic High, he and I went to Parkview together, played at Parkview together. And, you know, just kind of met with him before the game, and he was like, Coach, we got one who's a sophomore who's an absolute dog. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me what number is he? I mean, by the third play of the game, I was like, this cat Langlois, bro. I mean, a sophomore? Now, granted, this is Catholic High Point Capee, and we're playing out in New Roads, and, you know, it's 1A football, which I'm not discounting. You know, but you're wondering, like, I wonder how this would translate if he was playing against Woodlawn and Zachary tonight. You know what I mean? Like, what that would look like. And then you put him, you know, around the fastest cats in the state, and he's the fastest one.
Right.
You know, you're starting to say, wow, I mean, like, and then physically he's there. I can't wait to watch a lot of these. I mean, all of these wide receivers are going to have a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Besh is obviously playing.
Right.
You know, they've found like a specialty package for him.
Is he big enough to play tight end, the little hybrid role?
I guess a new age tight end. You know what I mean? Where they're a little bit leaner and better route runners. He's not going to have the height advantage of somebody like a Kyle Pitts. You know, or somebody, you know, like even like a Thaddeus Moss. But, you know, as far as route running and as far as using his body to catch the ball, like one of the, I mean, like he uses those basketball skills inside of the red zone. If you see him on fade and jump balls, he's just boxing the cornerback out.
Right.
He's got this natural understanding of how to use.
Stick him on your hip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, use his ass.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got, you know, I mean, he's built. I mean, he's well put together.
Right.
But he's not your ideal tight end in the SEC.
He's not who you're hoping will block and catch.
Right,
like you're not.
Right. So we will talk to Brody Miller here in a couple of minutes and keep that going. I know that there is heavy concern for the LSU quarterback room this morning, and obviously, as we said to start off, if you're Ed Ogeron, if you're Jake Peets, if you're DJ Mangus, Kevin Falk, Brad Day, any of the offensive staff, Mickey Joseph, you know, this is a source of huge anxiety for you today on quarterback depth. We have spelled out some of the scenarios of things that you don't want to. You do not want to look at Garrett Nussmeier and tell him to go start a game on the road in the SEC and he's got to win it. You just don't want to stunt his growth. We've seen it too many times here in Baton Rouge of prospects just being stunted and put at a huge disadvantage by playing before they should be out there. And I think that Nussmeier needs to get reps early on, and it's going to be it's going to be an exact science to how you weigh this thing, to how you calculate it from Pete's and Mangus and Ogeron's standpoint, because you want to make sure and get Max Johnson the ready amount of reps that he needs every week to with Nussmeier in a ready position to play, rather than next year at this time talking about the majority of the locker room have known that Max Johnson was going to be the starter. I mean, let's not just write off what Ed Ogeron said a couple of weeks back on WWL. In a moment of transparency and in a moment of being very honest about his quarterback feeling, he said the locker room and the coaches know who the best quarterback on this team is. He said it in public. Same thing. And Sonny Ships heard the same thing. And Billy Embodies heard the same thing. And Jacques Doucette's heard the same thing. And Michael Cobble's heard the same. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like when we all get together and just kind of trade, hey, you hearing, yep. All right. It's Max Johnson's job. It has been Max Johnson's job. That's been the view of not only the media members, the people trying to get the information, but the team, the locker room, the coaches. So it's not a starter that you're losing, but the depth and the confidence you have at that position now has sunk. Hello? We'll be right back with Brody Miller here in the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome back in here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered daily by Go Chevrolet. Stop and check in with our good friends over at Go Chevrolet, Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the entire crew over there. Got a location in Baton Rouge on Sherwood Forest and Airline Highway. Also have a spot out in LaPlace where you can stop in and check them out. All online, GEAUXChevrolet.com. Many thanks to Dr. Chris Bankhead for stopping in here from Ochsner Health during the first hour, explaining a little bit of the recovery and time period that Myles Brennan will be dealing with on the reported broken arm that he sustained over the last couple of days and that he'll have surgery on today. If you missed that conversation, go check it out. And then Walker Howard, the #1 quarterback in the country, committed to LSU. Talked a lot about some of the news that's happening right now with name, image, and likeness. Quinn Ewers deciding to forego his senior season of high school football and enroll at Ohio State. And then about the relationship that he's developed with Jake Peets and DJ Mangus and the offensive staff just after a summer of recruiting that now he gets prepared to defend a state championship. We go from all of those guys into our next guest, who is a LSU football insider and covers the program over for the Athletic. And we have urged you that if you want great stories, great insight, great news on the SEC and specifically LSU, that you got to get a subscription to the Athletic for football season. Brody Miller
Just got mine yesterday.
Nice. It is a great source for us over here on the Jordy Culotta Show. It's a great ideas for segments that we usually go to and talk about some of the stories that are being written about, but just nothing else. It's just great information. Brody Miller, who's going to be a regular with us during football season, talking a lot about those stories and storylines here with us, is joining us now here on this Tuesday morning. Good morning, Brody. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me as always. How are you guys?
Doing good, man. LSU has been rocked over the last 24 hours at the quarterback position with the news of Myles Brennan breaking his arm and will have surgery today. You were on top of this story. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, obviously, there's no way to frame it as anything more than a net negative, right? Obviously, Myles Brennan is a very good quarterback who, whether or not you think Max Johnson was going to win the job and all that, I mean, that competition was going to be good for everybody. Myles Brennan, and just for the kid. I mean, Myles Brennan, fifth-year guy, came to LSU as the number 6 quarterback, in the country, all these things, and waited his turn, did everything, theoretically the right way, if you view it that way, and just can't catch a break. So I think first you have to start with just that sad story of, 3 injuries in 4 years and all that. That's really unfortunate. Then the other hand, it just kind of sets it to, hey, might have been anyway, but this is Max Johnson's job now, and now he's going through the whole month of August as the guy. He can get those reps. He can do that extra stuff with receivers and linemen. He can work with Jake Peets, tailor the offense around his skill set. So it's still a net negative, but at least there's that net positive for Max Johnson.
Any answers at quarterback to build any depth? I mean, the timeline on this thing is brutal. But, I was saying earlier that one of the biggest sources of anxiety for Orgeron and his crew this morning just have to be that you're a snap away from looking at a true freshman.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any way that, I'm often wrong, but I don't think, because they don't have any scholarship spots left in the 2021 class, so I don't think there's any way they can this summer add a scholarship quarterback. Now, the other question is, and you never know if you can find a way to get somebody as a walk-on who's better than a walk-on. I don't know that part, but yeah, I don't think so. And it is a tough situation. That, like you said, 2 years in a row, you're one step away from a true freshman. I think the only thing is, and this is just sometimes I am a natural optimist who spins things that way, but I think it's still a better situation than say last year, because last year, it's Johnson and Finley, who obviously ended up doing some great stuff, but those were 2 guys who were never exposed to see the field till year 3, at least what we thought at the time, right? They were in the 200s and 300s as recruits, for example. Not that that means anything. But they weren't, Garrett Nussmeier. And I had to say Garrett Nussmeier, a top 100 recruit who wowed a lot of people this spring. I know his spring game showed the 3 very rookie mistakes and interceptions, but they also showed 4 or 5 plays that no one else on that roster could make, quite frankly. He is a big talent. So again, they would be in trouble, don't get me wrong, if they had to go to Garrett Nussmeier. But I think, just in my perspective, there's at least a little more hey, at least this next guy up is like possibly the next star. You know, at least he's a guy who, if he had come in, he might steal a game because he has that big talent. He might lose one too, but I'm all over the place here. But I'm just saying, I think Aaron Nussmeier at least has enough talent that it wouldn't be end of the world. But yeah, obviously it's a frustrating situation.
No, I follow you. I'm riding with you on that. I know what you mean. I got John Trey Kirkland being the third team quarterback on this squad. Who would they go? I mean, I'm being serious too. Who would take the snaps if they had to get to a third guy?
It's tough. I mean, because there's always some walk-ons they like, and I haven't heard this year who the ones are. There's always one that they're like, hey, we actually do like it. I don't know who it is this year, but yeah, I still know. Yeah, they've yet to ever really have to turn to a walk-on. There was a few days in 2018 where it looked like Andre Sale might have had to start a game, but it didn't quite happen. So I don't know, but yeah, I think you'd have to really look at like a Kirkland or I mean, shoot, how many guys on this team were quarterbacks in high school? Because a Radar Jones or so many guys. So I think you'd have to go to a Kirkland before. But man, if they go down 2 quarterbacks, the problems are so much bigger than that. It's at that point the season is just in trouble.
Brody Miller joining us here from The Athletic. Make sure and get your subscription today heading into college football season. Tigers report later this week, so the news will start flowing over there with LSU getting on campus. I saw you last week over at the Rotary Club, which is a great room for networking with business women and men from the local community, and it gives Ogeron a opportunity to really kind of play loose with the crowd. Did you learn anything in the 50 minutes that Ogeron spent behind the microphone?
I did, yeah. Like you said, it's my favorite event every single year because the one time not that he's ever like naturally dishonest with us, but there's just a different dynamic, and he can kind of, like you said, he's playing the crowd, and he's just kind of a little more honest than he is with us. And
that's right.
Yeah, I think you learned some interesting stuff, just even little things about. We'll ask him about safety, and it's kind of like, hey, we have a competition going, but he tipped to them that, we know Jay Ward's probably one of the starters, right? But it looks like Major Burns, he said, the transfer from Georgia, Baton Rouge kid, is probably the best chance to start for LSU, which I think was surprising to me at least. I didn't see him as right away in the mix there, and so I think that's going to be really interesting. That's one thing that jumped out. I think another was just kind of. I'm pulling it up now. But I think, he was one of the other big tips was that, he's talking about a timeline for the quarterback battle, things like that. I think there's some interesting stuff on just needing a lot more out of that O-line group, which is, we know, but we haven't really heard him admit that things like that they really need another tackle and they don't know what's going on there. So I'm all over the place. I apologize.
No.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the way of the day. Right? I mean, you kind of jump from topic to topic. Did you think they get anything figured out at running back early on here, whether it be in camp or going into week 1 where they have a guy, or you think they're going to what is your thought at running back?
Yeah, so I've had people tell me that they think John Emery is going to be the guy. And there's certain players, as well as I, that no matter how many times you hear it, you just have to wait until you see it. You know, and he probably falls in that camp because we all know how absurdly talented John Emery is. But there's just he hasn't put it together yet for a myriad of reasons. So I think that'd be a fun bet. But I think if you're just going pure like Ty Davis Price, I've been hearing since April, since the end of spring, that he is finally in the best shape he's been in. Even Ogeron made a comment at the Rotary Club, like you said, about how he's at 225 now and in the best shape he's been and all that. I've been hearing it all summer. So I think there's something that's really trustworthy about him. He's a guy who seems like he can average 4.5 yards a game in his sleep, 4.5 yards per carry, I should say, and just kind of move the chains and whatnot. But yeah, he doesn't have the same upside of, say, an Emery or even some of these freshmen like Heiner and Goodwin. So I think it's probably safe to say Davis Price will be a stalwart in the running back rotation. But there is a growing optimism that Emery might finally actually put it all together, and if he does, that guy can be an all-SEC star. I mean, if Emery puts it together, he can be a Heisman star. That's the kind of talent. It's just his year last year was as fascinating as any, where he had 2 games where I'm like, man, he did it. That guy is a superstar. I mean, the Vanderbilt game was just like, wow, that guy, I don't care who the talent is. That was wild. But he also had, I think, 4 to 5 games where he averaged less than 3 yards per carry. I mean, that's not. There's no way you can really spin that. So, and I think that you have to just kind of wait on that a little bit. But Ogeron has also not hid the fact that he thinks Kiner and Goodwin will see the field. They will fight for time. And I think you and I have both been Kiner guys all off season, so I wouldn't rule them out at all. But I think it's safe to say Davis Price will at least get a lot of carries.
Yeah, for sure. TDP sounds like he's had a great offseason, but now is the time for John Emery. A true definition of a home run hitter, if there's ever been one for LSU. I mean, at one snap, he can change the scoreboard at any point on the field. Jack Besh was mentioned as Walker Howard was here at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. We were talking a little bit about Besh to Walker Howard. Obviously, Howard and Besh just stripped the record books in Louisiana high school athletics and high school football, and especially over at St. Thomas More. You dove in and did a piece on Besh. It sounds like the people that I talked to around the program now almost speak of Besh as like a quasi-starter, kind of like they speak of Mason Smith on the defensive side. What do you expect from Besh here? And then I want to get your thoughts on this. Maybe put this in the back of your brain as you're answering it. That same coach told me that right now Jack Besh is a top 5 athlete in LSU's locker room. And we kind of put together, we were just kind of kicking around some names early in hour one after that quote. I'd like to get some of your thoughts on that. But what do you think the impact that Besh has in year one?
Yeah, I think a fun part of this job sometimes is like picking your guys in the off season that you're just putting your stock into, and you're like, hey, I want to be ahead of on this guy. And I was not the first to be on the Jack Besh bandwagon by any means, but I'm up there.
Yeah, right.
I think that there's just this, coming out of the spring, and I remember, I think we talked a while ago about that piece I did of like, who's going to be this number 2 playmaker? I have no idea. And there's just some people who are like, I don't. Why aren't you talking about Jack Besh? I'm like, I don't know. He was like the lowest rated receiver in the class. I'm not a recruiting expert. And yeah, they're like, no, they think Jack Besh can be the guy. Like he can be the number 2 guy immediately, and that shocked me. But then I looked more into it, and it's kind of they really think he's going to be this matchup nightmare, tight end receiver hybrid who can line up as a tight end, line up in the slot, line up outside. Kind of. He's not the raw talent Gilbert is shoot, but they kind of see him as that matchup nightmare that he was. So I'm fascinated by it, and I'm just I'm intrigued to watch. But yeah, he is a physical stud. I mean, he's a guy who in high school always had the strength parts of it, right? He was always a really good receiver, but then he grew 2 inches, and then he got his speed down to the 4.5 range, and it's like, oh, the one thing missing is there, and I just love that story of the LSU staff finally watching his game film. I think because they were watching Walker Howard, to be honest, and the whole room went one by one, and they're like, "Yep, let's offer him right there on the spot." So I think he's one of the fastest risers in that 2021 class, and it's a really cool story. But man, I'm with you. I think he could be a guy, which I don't think any of us would have predicted 9 months ago.
Maybe the greatest example of that recruiting cycle of a casualty of COVID. Like a guy that didn't work out on campus for a lot of programs, that if, LSU puts their eyeballs on Besh the summer going in to his junior year, it's a no-brainer. But the fact that you can't get him on campus and see him and evaluate him, they just kind of let him slide. And, his senior season, once the offer came from LSU, I mean, it started raining, just Power 5, Texas, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I mean, everybody was there at the end, but I'm with you. I think that he is he's just too good. I mean, he was too good to keep off the field, but the more you talk to people, it seems like he's going to have an instant impact. This defensive line room, Brody, is as good as Ogeron has had. And it seems like when he took the job permanently, this is what he really wanted to get back to, was having some depth being built there. There's another true freshman that keeps popping up, and his name is all over. It's Savion Smith, who is the big defensive end out of St. James, and then the defensive tackle out of the Florida area. I believe it's Langford, who I keep hearing about. What are your thoughts on this defensive line going into the season?
Yeah, I'm glad you love the freshman, because it's kind of like getting better at how we protect the D-line. It's like we already knew this was a strength, and now like some of these freshmen being further along than they even expected, I think is making it's like, oh, this D-line's even deeper than we thought. Yeah, so I think, Mason Smith, obviously we know, was the star of spring, especially as a freshman. And then Bryce Langston, Ed Ogeron even mentioned him last week, is one of the guys who will see the field as a freshman. And he was a big recruit in the late get and all that, but he just wasn't talked about. Maybe just because he was a last-second signing and all that. And maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, he came in and just looked like he is a grown man ready to play some college football and is really impressed this whole summer. So I think that's another huge win. And you're right, Davion Jones he's one of those guys that is just a physical star and probably would have been ranked, who knows, maybe would have been ranked higher if he wasn't in St. James or something like that. And I don't know if Davion Jones is going to crack the rotation year one like, say, Smith and Langston are. But, yeah, he's a guy they're really high on. So I couldn't agree more. I think the C-line class just keeps building because we're talking about guys that they're insanely high on who are probably still going to be third and sixth or something in the D-line in the D-tackle rotation. It's the idea that Glenn Logan, he has been in the rotation since 2017, right? So I think that means we are literally on year 5 of Glenn Logan playing football for LSU. He's the afterthought at D-tackle now. I don't even know if he's going to start, which is just a wild thought. And you have a guy like, obviously Neil Farrell, I think, is going to have a really big year. Guys like that, obviously Jaquelin Roy, I think, could take a huge leap if he really puts the work in, guys like that. But the idea that a Logan or Joseph Evans, who might have had the best spring of anybody, Dronte Jones and Ogeron have both said that. They seem like afterthoughts. So, they are literally – Jacoby and Guillory. There's literally 6 to 8 deep on the defensive tackle spot. There are 4 deep at defensive end of guys they really can trust. And Ojolari is a guy who should get better this year. And Ollie Gay is a guy who should get better this year. So I think it's that. I always love talking about things where there's that perfect mix of experience and upside, depth and upside. And that's what the D-line has, where you have that mix of, you got your stalwarts you could trust, and you got those guys who might make a huge play that can rotate in. That's that sweet spot.
Put you on the spot to get you out of here. If I ask for a starting 5 of athletes out of LSU's locker room, who you leading off with?
You mean just like the top freak athletes? Just
the freakiest of athletes in that locker room. I got Stingley number 1.
Yeah, Stingley has to be 1. Yeah, I'm thinking off the top of my head. So help me out.
Yes, no, I'm doing the same. We did the same. So I had Stingley 1, I had Eli Ricks 2, and I had Ojolari 3.
I didn't think of Ricks in there, but I just don't know if I think of him as a freak physically, but he's a good pick. Ojolari, 100%. He has to be there. Oof. I think, and there's been times where I thought Jaquelin Roy might be up there, especially coming in. I don't know if he's like top 5. All right, let's think.
This all started because a coach told us that Jack Besh. Who's that? Damone Clark. Okay.
He hasn't put it all together like on the field yet, but physically Damone Clark is up there.
Okay, Jack said that. But this all started because a coach said that Jack Besh was a top 5 athlete in the locker room today. Do you believe that statement? And would you draft him within the top 5?
I do believe that, especially coming from in the program.
Yes.
And that, he just seems like a stud physically. So I like it. And I'm gonna let us keep building the stock of Jack Besh. But yeah, I think that is I think looking through the roster as we speak, this is not a diss. They have a really athletic roster, but there's not like the Jacoby, say, of past years. Like, that guy's the physical
Odell Beckham.
So,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'll put him in there. I like it.
Yep. We'll continue this discussion into this. Nothing says the offseason like drafting teams of athleticism of college football squads.
Only 3 more days.
That's right, man. Get us to fall camp, for God's sakes. Brody, great work, and look forward to catching up with you soon, man.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
All right, man. There's Brody Miller checking in this morning here from The Athletic, talking LSU football here. All right, it has been a whirlwind here on this Tuesday. Apologize about the technical difficulties. Hopefully we will have all of that figured out come tomorrow. And hopefully the experience here got better as we went on, because I know that there was a lot of frustration at the start of the show of kind of messing with everybody's habits out there. So I apologize about that. We will get that fixed. We are urging you to go check out the new website. Go check it out. You can get gear there. You can learn about the Jordy Culotta Show. You can also listen and watch there daily. JordyCulottaShow.com. JordyCulottaShow.com. Our friends over at Nevadis were the masterminds behind that. So shout out to Randall Knockman and their crew, man. The mobile feature of it is very easy too. So you can, if you're on your phone, your tablet, hit up jordyculotta.show.com. Very interactive, very easy to navigate. Give us your feedback on it. Tell us what you think.
I think it looked great.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Your title is the one intern that's stuck around.
I love that, and it's true.
And the ace, baby,
Still here.
and a boy. Some of the things that we did not talk about today. Garrett Temple is a Pelican.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Happy 44th birthday to Tom Brady. How about the GOAT turning 44 today?
How about
but
Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz.
He's made out of glass.
Carson Wentz out. What do they got him? 4 to 6 weeks out with a foot injury for Colts quarterback Carson Wentz.
Sam Ehlinger, it's your time.
NFL Network. Jacob Eason,
Sammy.
former Georgia and Washington quarterback, and Sam Ehlinger on the Indianapolis Colts roster as Carson Wentz backup.
Wentz almost won MVP.
Yeah,
His rookie year.
Or it was the
second year.
the year they won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was that was the
yeah.
year because Tom Brady ended up winning it, but Wentz had it all the way until he got hurt.
That's right.
All the way.
That was his rookie season.
Really?
Yes.
Because I remember that one play where it's just like a mound of guys on top of him.
It was in L.A.
And then he pulls out, and you're like, where did he come from? Like he was just getting sacked, and I'm upset. I feel bad for him that he just can't stay healthy.
I mean, he's made $200 million off of 10 games.
Right.
I mean,
That's crazy.
He's got one of those contracts.
Talk about being mentally tough, being a quarterback in Philly.
I mean,
being an athlete in Philly.
Yeah, they'll eat you alive.
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he's a hero. He's a folk
hero, bro. Big Dick Nick.
Yeah, forever.
All right. Yes. Swerve says Chris Hilton. Hilton was on our list.
Yeah.
He was on our list for sure. I think he is a freaky athlete. Garrett Temple. Back to that story though. So Lonzo Ball is out in New Orleans, and in return, the Chicago Bulls are sending down Garrett Temple and Thomas Satoransky,
Yes.
who sounds like a 1970s NBA
Right,
player.
right.
I feel like Tom Satoransky has floppy blonde hair,
Tom
Converse.
Satoransky,
very
yeah.
white,
Very. He's got the
Converse.
chucks on. He's got
tucked
the
in
chucks
shirt,
on.
short shorts. I mean, no tone, no definition, no muscle tone. I mean, Tom Satoransky sounds
Ball
like a
punch.
1981 Chicago Bull.
That's about how he plays.
You know
Just
what I
straight
mean?
jump shots.
Just pick and pop all day, off the glass, uses the square.
Windex.
A fundamentally sound guy that'll box you out in a rec league.
Pivots.
Throwing elbows.
Great pivot.
Elbows
Jump
everywhere.
Jump stops all the time.
But Garrett Temple comes down with a second-round pick as well. I love the fact that Temple is in the locker room.
Mentor Zion.
with New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, they missed out. Miami, huge winners of early NBA free
Yeah,
agency.
that PJ Tucker signing.
PJ Tucker
big.
and Kyle
Kyle
Lowry.
Lowry.
3 years.
I think the Kyle Lowry money was a little
Well,
high.
I
but
mean,
he was a hot commodity.
Yeah, he was the guy.
You had to throw money at.
he was the get.
You had to throw
He was the
money
get.
at.
I mean,
Chris Paul market.
Kyle Lowry at 36 years old was demanding the free agency market of the NBA.
And the thing is,
Chris Paul effect.
that doesn't happen if Chris Paul doesn't have the
That's
season
exactly
he had
right.
last year.
So Paul's going back to Phoenix.
Yes, 4
Paul,
years.
Paul has agreed
Paul's
to go
back
back
in
to
Phoenix.
Phoenix. Lonzo is leaving New
gonna be a
Orleans and
Bull.
going to Chicago. Kyle Lowry is leaving Toronto and going down to Miami. The Pelicans are in a situation here. Now, I mean, I've loved some of these moves of dumping
Right.
that dead money and getting Valanciunas in,
Right.
and now Garrett Temple in the locker room. As much as I love G Temp, and you won't find a big. I mean, I'm getting a Pelicans jersey.
Yeah.
Garrett Temple.
Oh,
I mean,
you have
we're,
to.
we're hanging it in the UDL.
100%. Fletcher Mackel had a. Let's see if I can find it.
But on the floor, Temple is going to, he's going to be a solid 16 to
Right.
19-minute guy a night.
Right.
You still need that impactful majority minute player, primary ball handler,
Veteran on
guy
the-
that
yeah.
can play. And I'm just looking at the selections, fellas. And I mean, you didn't have a shot at Paul. I really thought that they were going to make a run at Lowry. But the 3 for 9, it was that third year.
Yeah.
It was that third year that
It's the
Lowry was he had the leverage
Yeah.
to get the guaranteed third year, and somehow, I mean, Pat Riley is such a gangster when it comes to free agency.
He just knows what he's doing.
I mean, he's just kind of playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers.
Yeah, our guy Fletcher Mackle, he put out a little tweet earlier about midnight last night talking about some of the moves that the Pels should make. And Goran Dragic is a point guard, veteran point guard that's still out there.
Is he in Miami?
That can come. He's gone. They didn't bring him back, and then they made the Lowry.
So he's on the open market.
So I think he's on the open market. And so if we can pull him, he might not start because I think we might play Devontae Graham at the 1, even though he's more of a wing guy, more of a scorer.
Do we like Kyra Lewis in this room? How do we feel about Kyra Lewis?
I like Kyra.
Is he an NBA point guard?
He can be, but at this moment, he just doesn't have the facilitating aspect of it.
Zion be the point forward,
but I mean Zion's probably going to have the dominant ball handling.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that.
So if we can just grab a Joe Ingles, maybe that's who I want. I want Joe Ingles on this basketball team.
Where is he right now? Is he a free agent?
He's a free agent.
Okay.
I think, I'm pretty sure.
We never talked about. Did we talk about Cam? Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas going 27th to Brooklyn. I love that. I think that's going to be great.
And Dinwiddie is gone from Brooklyn, so that opens up.
So some more minutes.
They're
more
literally
minutes for Cam.
Just go score.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you learn how to be a pro. I think playing with superstars is good for youngsters. You know what I mean? I think
100%.
Being in that environment and seeing being
able to learn from James Harden is amazing.
Absolutely. And almost you can sit back and see what not to do.
Right.
As well. I mean, because those guys have all the money. They've got they will never wait in a line for a club in New York. They'll never pay for a meal in the city. They're going to be treated like superstars every single place they go.
Right.
And I think, Garrett and Tyrus were some of the guys that told me about it. I mean, Tyrus told the story here a couple of weeks back. He didn't have a veteran that taught him how to be a pro. He didn't have that mentor in the locker room that said, hey, man, do this, don't do that. Or use this lady to help you out with your money. Or use this guy to help you out with, some stuff around the city. Whatever it may be. Those guys have those connects.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like James Harden, he's not parking his own car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not picking up his laundry. He's not shopping for his own clothes anymore. I mean, that's the type of status that those guys are. Not to say that Cam will be there, but it'll teach you how to be a pro. Just being around that type of royalty every day within the league. And Cam should just he can just go be Cam.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really in a place where you're like, hey, man, you're the 27th pick on maybe the best team in the league. We need you for 12 to 16 minutes a night, and when you're out there, just fill it up. Yeah. I mean, Cam Thomas, yes, sir.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can do that as much as you want.
They just put that bench unit out there, and it's Cam. Just shoot the ball.
Who's on the bench unit for them?
Nobody now. I mean, I have no idea.
Did you see where LeBron, Westbrook, and AD are making $120 million next year? The salary cap's $113.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like,
how do you balance that?
How are they going to function?
Is so confusing to me.
It is
because
then they have the royalty.
They got all this different. But the Lakers, their average age is probably like 37 right now because the moves they made yesterday.
Wesley Johnson,
Wayne Ellington,
Dwight Howard,
right? Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza. I mean,
Trevor Ariza. He still plays.
Yes,
and he's back.
Where was he?
Washington. Wow, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they got. Westbrook's 33, so it's not like he's super young.
So Miami won the free agency, right?
So far. It looks like
but I mean, it's over, right? I mean, like all the big names are going.
Yeah, most of them.
Who's the biggest name out there?
Kawhi still hasn't signed, but he's going back to the Clippers. So. And then DeMar DeRozan is still out there, and so there's
John Collins,
but he's restricted, and Atlanta's going to match whatever anybody.
Conley got paid.
Conley got paid by the Jazz, though. He's staying in Utah.
Yeah,
I love him.
Oh, I know.
I was secret in the NBA. The fact that he's a one-time All-Star is a crime. It really is.
Oh yeah, and it was this past year.
Yeah, and he was like a reserve.
Those years in Memphis,
he
deserved at least 2.
I agree.
Because
I mean, he has been a handful of the best point guards in the league for now, probably going on a decade.
Player for a little while.
Probably going on a decade.
Yeah,
I mean, like on a 10-year run, probably 7 out of the last 10 years, he's been a top 3 to 5 point guard in the league.
And it's because of his ability to play both sides of the floor.
Absolutely.
Because you see all these point guards that are just strictly, like Trae Young, just strictly offense.
He was in the KD draft, right? I mean, he was in the KD, Greg Oden,
I think, yeah.
and then
Conley
Conley was third. He was the third pick.
Right.
I love him.
Me too.
He got his money.
Yeah,
I saw he made
it.
like 75
He
million.
got it.
Yeah,
Then before that.
He's got respect from teams.
yes, he
It's
does.
just-
He absolutely does.
but he's also one of those guys that the All-Star nods and stuff like that isn't something that he is worried about.
Chris Paul's made $468 million just off contract.
Coach, he just shook 44 off like it was like $10.
Right.
I mean, he just was like, "No, what? 44? Nah, I can get more than that."
Right.
We talked about this last week too. Did you see whose phone is ringing from in the SEC office?
Clemson.
Florida State and Clemson. It doesn't end there either, boys. I'm telling you, this is going to turn into the absolute minor league of the NFL. If I'm USC, if I'm Arizona State, if I'm Washington, if I am Notre Dame, if I'm North Carolina, which sneakily North Carolina brings in great television numbers. It's like the 4th largest state or something with
Charlotte, man.
It's nuts. And they love their sports, and you can pick them up in basketball too.
Oh yeah.
Golly, dude, can you imagine going to the Dean Dome for a conference game?
All right, okay.
Somebody was asking about the Bad Boy T-shirts inside of the bunker. Where can they get the bad? Go to Red Stick Sports, ask for Cody, and grab your Louisiana Bad Boy shirt like Jack has on. We may have some on the not on the website yet. Not on the website yet. They're at Red Stick Sports. As soon as we sell out at Red Stick Sports, then we make the bulk order. Go check out the Bad Boy T-shirts over at Red Stick Sports. Is that everything we wanted to talk about today?
How do you feel about Clemson now? Like Clemson?
I was surprised.
Yeah, are you?
I think I know that they'll be a part of one of the big conferences, but I didn't think they'd get on this side.
Yeah.
I figured they'd stay on the other side
money,
so
bro.
they can make through it.
I think everybody's starting to see the money.
That's all
Everybody's
it is.
starting to see what the windfall is going to be like in the SEC. And I think Texas was the big player that's got everybody saying, hold up, if they're going, this might be the spot to be, because they're bringing such a big bank account with them already to the spot that has been paying everybody the best. And ultimately, at the end of this, that's all this really is. It's just it's just a money grab.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a money grab, and that's why teams like Oklahoma State and Texas A&M are really kind of they want to take their ball and go home.
Right.
Because Texas A&M more for the Texas stuff, but Oklahoma State they don't have a place to go to now.
Yeah.
They don't have a paycheck, or not one that Oklahoma's going to have. So I don't expect it to end there.
Right.
I think that there are more teams on the way.
Domino.
The first domino
32. You'll have 2 divisions,
Big Ten's
playoff
awfully quiet.
structure, championship series, market.